everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Fall ball right around the corner. August 24th, 25th, first tournament. Kevin's chuckling because we had this conversation before we started. But anyway, nonetheless, it's fall ball season. There it is. Get your team registered, Game7Baseball.com. Hey, get the neighborhood kids together, right, Kevin? That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
There you go. Throw on a couple of jerseys. Go out, play some baseball. Enjoy. It's fall ball. Get used to the next level. If you were 8U last year, you'll play 9U. If you're 9U, you'll play 10U. Get used to the difference if there is one. Sometimes there's not a difference. But then that next one, especially those 13U kids jumping into the 14U, going to that 60-90, it's different.
Game changer.
So make sure you do that. Game7Baseball.com. Here on Baseball Talk today, joined by the guru, Mr. Kevin Moulder. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. As we were laughing about before the show, I can't believe we're towards the end of summer and excited for the fall, but don't necessarily want the summer to end. I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat.
Well, just an FYI, folks, summer is not going to be over until September. Just to kind of let you know.
Yeah, I understand the calendar, but really, like, fall starts when school starts in my mind. I don't know. I hear you, and like winter doesn't start till like the end of December. It's weird to like. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could be in charge of redoing the calendar. I would make the winter December, January, February, the spring March, April, May, the summer June, July, August, and fall September, October, November. Like in my head, that's how it goes. I realize that it's probably just speaking for myself on that, but
well, we'd have to adjust science for you, Kevin.
yeah, smarter people like have figured this out, but in my head, that's how I operate.
That's the way I that's fine with me. I'm hip. I grew up mostly in, the Southwest where there was only spring and summer.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
So, hey, I'm cool with it.
Yes. Yes.
But, and to me, I'm an old guy. I remember going back to school after Labor Day.
Yes. Boy, things have changed.
Yeah. We didn't go back till after Labor Day. That Tuesday after Labor Day, that was it. The last vacations were taken. Labor Day weekend was big. I still think it's big, but not like it was. I mean, that was the end of the summer was Labor Day weekend. So,
to clarify, I'm a Memorial Day through Labor Day summer guy. Like that's the summer season for me. Like one kicks it off, one closes it down. That's kind of how I view it. But
I'm exactly, and that's
like the masses would agree with that. Like I think if we had a national poll, that's kind of how it would be viewed.
Oh, I think so. And honestly, like you said, that's when you got out of school. Used to when I was, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And you got out of school then, and then you went back to school. So you're talking a bigger summer, what used to be. Now it's like you got 6 weeks in between there, and you're just trying to cram everything in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know it's more than 6 weeks, but seems like it, right?
Yes. Right.
I mean, we blinked, and I said that to you a few weeks ago on the show. I said, Kevin, summer's going to go. No, don't tell me that. But anyway, so speaking of fall, you got a big date coming up September 7th, Kevin.
Yeah, September 7th kind of kicks off our fall. We're at Atkins Field in Columbia, Missouri for the Mo Fall Games. You were out there last year. It was a great event. A lot of good players. this year we've got big numbers already, so plan on having a big turnout, and it's always fun. There's always some surprises and guys that come out, that maybe you didn't know before. And we were talking also before the show, just it's kind of the start of learning the players again and who's at what school and who's taking a jump forward, et cetera, as we start to kind of look ahead towards the high school season and who's going to be loaded and whatnot. But yeah, excited for September 7th at Atkins Field for the Mo Fall games. It's going to be a really good event again this year. I think last year we had about 135 players, give or take, and had a good college turnout and had a really good day of it. So the one great thing about the fall is it is generally the best baseball weather of the calendar year. So I do love the fall season. Great time for baseball all the way across the board.
Absolutely, it is. And yes, we will be out there this Saturday, this September 7th. We'll be out with the trailer with the cameras. We're going. It's good for us because I was looking at the roster. There's a lot of 2028s coming out, and it's a great opportunity for us to learn. We may have seen some of these kids at some Game 7 tournaments, and we may not have. Everybody goes a lot of different places.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love the interview these kids. That's the fun part for me.
Yes.
Is you never know what somebody might say, and you begin to learn the big personalities, kids that don't shy away from it, want to talk, have some fun with it. I that's the part that's fun for me. I enjoy that.
I do enjoy watching that from afar, just seeing how the kids react. A lot of them, it's their first ever interview, most of them. Some are going to like completely shut down or freeze up, and others come alive. And, it is always kind of fascinating to watch that unfold.
Yes, it is. It is fun. So we're going to be out having some fun with that. We're going to get a good look at this. We've got some stuff we got coming up. We've got an agenda I'm putting together for the winter. Kevin and I are going to start looking at schools, who's going to be in the race, who's not going to be in the race. Dave Wilson retired from Staley. Ryan Stiegel stepped down at Liberty North. I was surprised. I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't know if you knew or whatnot, but
I did.
he did.
Yeah, changing of the guard over in Kansas City.
Right?
Who are the top guys? There's a lot of great coaches over there, but those guys have been doing it for a long time and certainly would be viewed as some of our best coaches in the state.
Do you know who's replacing him? Stiegel.
Yes, I do.
Can you say? Have they announced it yet?
I apologize. You put me on the spot, and I'm not going to draw it right off the top of my head.
No worries. Are you looking it up, or are you?
I
can't say. Okay.
Up.
Well, then I'll flap my gums until you get that, because Dave Wilson, who's going to replace him over there? I don't know if you know, but that leaves Tim McElliott over there, who's had a big season, got some kids coming back. So I think it'll be really interesting how the west part of the state shapes up. I think down in the southwest, you're going to be good. So we're going to start looking at the teams, Class 4. I don't know. I know, Kevin, do you got that? Not yet. I don't know how we're going to do it yet. We're going to try and cover a little bit more of the lower classes, YBMcast.
It's Coach Jake Bradshaw, who is the assistant at Rockhurst. And I knew he was at Rockhurst before. I couldn't recall the name. But yeah, Coach Jake Bradford from Rockhurst is taking the helm over at Liberty North. I was giving Coach Steele trouble at he did all that work in the facility, and they got a beautiful setup now. And I'm like, now you're gonna step aside, huh? But that is the definition of being a great leader and whatnot. He's leaving it better than when he found it, and he set them up for future success. And you know, what a great run they've had. But it'll be fun to see how they move forward, and I'm sure it'll continue on doing great things.
And I think he's got a couple of daughters that are high level volleyball players, if I'm not mistaken. And
Coach Siegel,
yeah.
yeah,
And so, who to blame him? Go
no,
spend some time with your family, because man, it takes up
yes,
your time, doesn't it, Kevin?
yes, it does. It does.
But so we just got a couple weeks ago, got finished. We haven't had a chance to really talk about the future games and what happened there. It was the first year with the new rule and the new team, the senior team. I'm anxious to see how that went. So let's start there.
It went great. Super positive response. We were well represented. Now it was a regional team, so it was Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Colorado was one team. Um, but we had good turnouts. Luke Sullivan, Parkway South pitched extremely well. Jack Cowling
Mm-hmm.
was there and recently committed to Evansville University. Had a great performance. Owen Nestledge from Kirkwood pitched extremely well and recently committed to Maryville University. Crew Norden was there catching, just committed as well. Landon Edmonds had a great event. He was played extremely well, was on base a bunch, and worked some at bats and played good center field. Eli Sitzer had a really good day or event. Trying to think. So it was. Oh, Kyle Regg. Kyle Regg hit a home run in one of the games, and man, he's a good athlete. Just a good athlete, versatile infielder. You could put him in a lot of different positions. He can play shortstop. You can obviously put him over at second. He can play third base. I like the bat. Someone's going to get a good player with Kyle Regg. So, yeah, it was a great event. I think we'll expand it next year. I'm looking to hopefully have more opportunities for Missouri players, and so shedding a couple of those states would be nice. I don't know if it'll be just a team Missouri, but maybe it'll be Missouri and Kansas or Missouri and Arkansas. I don't know. That stuff we'll meet about in the wintertime. But it was a big hit. Before we jump into the 16U team, the main team, our junior future games team won the whole thing.
I want
So
to come
fired up
back.
about that.
But I'm sorry. I want to come back to something here real quick, because you mentioned Jack Cowling going to Evansville, right?
Yes.
Cooper Rhodes just signed it to Evansville. They'd gotten Kenton
Yes.
Deverman the year before. That Evansville school is coming over and picking up a lot of those kids that are really, really high-level baseball players, but not maybe that top tier. They're recruiting well out of this area, aren't they?
Yes, they found a little niche here in the St. Louis area. They're getting some really good players, some guys that I would call maybe overlooked or not like the big name or the wow guy, but are really good players. And they're coming off a lot of success. They were in a super regional this year. They got a new facility. Coach Carroll over there does a good job. It's a 3-hour drive, give or take, depending on what part of St. Louis you're from. So yeah, it makes sense, and they're doing a really good job recruiting right now, and they're getting good baseball players. I said they were kind of overlooked or not the big name or whatnot. Don't confuse that with me not thinking they're really good, because I think that all of those guys are really good players, and they're going to do good things there at Evansville, and that's how you get to a super regional. Evansville, and I could say that about you know most of the colleges. They don't get to go to an All American games and then just pick out who they want. They're not one of the SEC schools or Big 12 schools that do that. So they got to I got a lot of respect for guys that do a good job recruiting in those situations because they're finding guys that are going to be able to play at that level that other people haven't identified it yet. So,
Yeah.
like a Jack Collins, a perfect example, in my opinion. Like, he's 6'5", he's a good athlete. Right now, today, he's mid to upper 80s. I could easily see when that guy is 21 years old and been in a weight room and in a college environment, I could easily see him being a 92, 94 guy. That's not that hard to imagine. I think Evansville saw something pretty similar and made a good run at him and got him to commit. And I think that'll be a good fit for both parties. So that's that's
I,
fun to see, and that's what the Senior Future Games is all about. And that's we're excited for them.
I like because the Cooper Rhodes one stood out to me. Cooper Rhodes probably physically doesn't stand up. He's not the height and whatnot. But you watch Cooper Rhodes play, that kid can flat out play baseball. And, that's one of those things right there that kind of is that delineator sometimes, correct?
100%. Cooper Rhodes is the type of guy you have to go watch play. The more you see him play, the more you like him. I remember him hitting really well at the state tournament 2 years ago when Jackson made their run to the Final Four. He was kind of hitting in front of Bogenpool, and he was making the offense go. But a guy like Bogenpool got all the attention because he rightfully so. He's 6'5" or whatever, 6'6", has light tower power, and he's doing great things down at Missouri State, hit 20-plus homers. Um, but you got to really watch to appreciate a guy like Cooper Rhodes who just consistently hits. He's not going to show up and win a showcase. That's not him, and that doesn't need to be him. Like, he knows who he is, and he's a really, really good player. So Evansville got a good one there, and that'll be a fun one to follow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, because, and that makes me interested in watching Evansville baseball. You know what I mean? As far as just somebody from this state looking at, I want to see how these guys do, right? You pick up fans that
Yeah,
way too.
and they have St. Louis kids. Mark Schallenberger was a big piece of their success. We talked about Deverman already. He's turned into a star over there, and yeah, it's fun to follow the local kids.
Absolutely. So, sorry, Kevin. I just wanted to touch on that because I think that's a great story in that part of it. But I interrupted you, and you were wanting to go. You go back to your big news.
Oh well, yeah. The Junior Future Games is for those that don't know, the Future Games it's a round robin tournament. So we play 3 games. You win or lose. It's a showcase baseball game. It is designed for letting college recruiters see the players and showcase them. So it's not a true baseball game. You don't win at all costs. You don't. We don't have signs. We don't hit and run. We don't bunt. We don't change pitchers in the middle of an inning. We give guys opportunities to play multiple positions, etc. And it's the only event really like that, and it's why it's the number one recruiting event in the country by a landslide. There's over 425 schools there, so it's designed for the colleges to be able to recruit and evaluate the players. But our Junior Future Games is a true tournament. We're playing to win. It is my favorite thing that we do. The kids have a blast, and we won this year. We had a very tough pool. We played California, Tennessee, and Team Midwest. and we had went 3-0 and advanced out of pool play. Then we beat Team Wisconsin and Team Texas, I believe, Team Texas, and won the championship. So we were excited about that, and our pool went on and won like the consolation bracket. California won the consolation, and one of them won. Team Midwest made the finals of their bracket. So yeah, we were battle tested. There's, I don't love singling out guys at that age, but these are going to be freshmen this year, and there's a number of kids on that team that will make an impact at the varsity level, I would believe. So a lot of fun, and a major success for Missouri, because that is not an easy tournament to win, and a lot of really good young players. And, in the past, before the rule changed, some of those kids would be committed by the end of the fall
Right.
from that event. So I'm thankful for the rule change, and I talked to down at the Future Games, I had a lengthy talk with all the players just about the new recruiting rules, which we'll have to do a show on that, just with how college baseball landscape and really all college athletics has just changed over the past couple weeks. But Junior Future Games was a huge success and a lot of fun, and we represented the state well.
I'm going to have to do this, because we do that. Here's an FYI, folks. This is something new, as we're joined here by Kevin Moulder from Prep Baseball on the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link. I had to throw that in there. I needed to do that.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
But Darren Sissel, who recently retired from coaching from Francis Howell, his son Titus is now with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've been talking with Darren for quite a while, and he's agreed going to come on and do some podcasts with us, Kevin. Baseball 101. So I'm going to probably hook you up with Darren and talking about those things, because I know he's got a great perspective with those types of conversations as far as recruiting and whatnot. And because we want to help people understand what these things are about. I think it's very important, especially with the new rules. Where do you find information? Do we read it all? I mean, usually there's a ton of information out there. And do you know every little teeny rule? And that becomes a difficulty in this as well, doesn't it?
It does. And this all came out during the Future Games, actually. And so, everyone was trying to sort it out. It didn't have an effect on these kids at that moment per se, but it did indirectly affect them. And, it's probably for another show, I would say, but it has to do with roster limits and scholarships. And overall, I think it's going to be a really positive thing in the long run for college baseball specifically, but it is going to get a little messy over the next year to 18 months, unfortunately, to get to that spot.
I've heard a little bit, and I think just something to throw out. I think it's changing, especially that Power 5 set into more of a minor league thought process. I really do. And, which is okay with me. I think that's fine.
Well, yeah. And again, for another show, but it makes sense. in a lot of ways. Minor league baseball just reduced their minor league systems. They cut a level out of the minor leagues. There's less minor leaguers. We consolidated the Power 5 to the Power 4. So Major League Baseball uses the high-level college baseball as a minor league system, and it adds a lot of certainty into these million-dollar decisions that they're making on these players. It's a lot easier to project a kid when he's 21 years old as opposed to doing what I'm doing at, at 15, 16, 17 years old, because they grow, they change. The guys that are best at 16 don't always stay the best, and some guy that was just pretty average as a 16-year-old becomes a star by the time he's 20. So, and I always try to hammer that message home. Even if I know a guy's the best player at 15, that you could be pretty certain he won't be the best player by the time he's 18, revolving around a lot of different factors. But Major League Baseball has gotten smart, and instead of taking lottery tickets by drafting kids out of high school and trying to figure out if they can handle living away from home and whether they're going to continue working hard when they get $1 million put into their bank account, how they're going to develop physically, whether they can handle the rigors of professional baseball. Now they just get to watch them for 3 years in college baseball. They transform their bodies. You can find out that there is no greater environment until you make the big leagues, and some would argue the Major League playoffs, than going to some of these high-level college baseball games. A weekend in the SEC or a super regional or regional, the College World Series, blows minor league baseball out of the water in terms of the intensity and the fan experience, how they treat the players. It's non-comparable. So if a kid can thrive in those situations, they're going to be just fine all the way through the minor leagues. They're not going to get freaked out by someone screaming at them, or they've been through the ringer if they've competed at those high-level situations in college baseball, which it's a good thing to know if you're about to spend $1 million to $7 million, $8 million on one of these kids before you sign them.
Absolutely. Big money. So we got some of that stuff coming up. Coach Sis will be joining us and joining podcasts, and we got a lot of fun stuff we're looking forward to here. So it's going to be a fun winter, Kevin.
Yes, it is.
So, all right, future games. Anything else? What? Any other last thought processes coming out of there?
Yeah, another great successful year for the 16U, the original recipe future games. Had a lot of great representation. Dylan Curtis, Francis Howell had a great outing. Was MVP of the game. Struck out the first 4 hitters in the game he started. Went 2 scoreless innings, 6 up, 6 down, and he committed to Mizzou like a week ago. So we're excited for Dylan. He threw really well. Tyler Putnam was a big story. He was up to almost 94 miles per hour on the TrackMan, I think 93.8, and showed really well. We had a bunch of pitchers do really well. Henry Vetter from Washington performed really well, got on some radars. Really all the way. Jackson Joggers from Eureka did well. Jake Brettschneider showed what he needed to do. Guys are gonna get some attention. Brody Crane during the workout day hit 8 homers during the BP session, which opened up some eyes.
Wow.
That was a standout round of BP.
Scott,
there was a couple guys.
Right
Go
there,
ahead.
just because we're getting ready to do the home run derby. with the little guy, 14U. It's a 200-foot fence, okay? And I watch these kids struggle with a 200-foot fence, trying to hit home runs. Hitting 8 home runs in those park in a BP. Oh my gosh, Kevin. That's impressive.
It's it's harder to do than even one would think. But it's extremely impressive.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
No, I was going to say one of the real big winners. There was a couple of them. Seton Thompson from Ladue High School. You want to talk about a rising star? I would say a year ago, I didn't even know his name. I saw him last fall and filed him away as an interesting guy, and then he kept like taking jumps and jumps, and then he came to the future games, played an unbelievable shortstop. He's attracting some pretty big interest from some major colleges. Brennan Pyle played extremely well. Brady Tanner fared very well for himself, doing what he does. And, Brady Tanner, you talked about Cooper Rhodes earlier. Mm-hmm. Brady Tanner's kind of the same, similar type situation. Like, it's real easy to get sucked into an event like the Future Games and try to be something that you're not. Like, Brady Tanner's not the guy that is going to hit 8 home runs in BP. And if you watch a Brody Crane do that, and he's hitting right in front of you, a lot of times kids will start pressing and start trying to be something they're not. Brady Tanner did a phenomenal job at the Future Games, getting on base, taking quality at-bats, grinding out pitchers. Hitting at the Future Games is extremely difficult to do because you're seeing a new arm literally every at-bat because pitchers are typically throwing 2 innings. So very rarely would you get to see the same pitcher twice. Every pitcher's trying to impress. They're throwing their absolute hardest. There's so many PRs. It was ridiculous how many 90-mile-per-hour arms there were down there this year. So you're facing an electric arm every single at-bat, and this guy is amped up. And Brady did an extremely good job of getting on base and grinding out at-bats. He's a really nice player. Kendall Hagedorn from Smith Cotton over in Sedalia did really well. Had a big event, hit really well, can run. He's a catcher and he runs a 6'8", 60. Throws well. Tough kid. I coached his older brother who at Jeffco, who ended up going down to Louisiana Lafayette. But Kendall's going to be a good one. CJ Lake from Oakville did a very nice job on the mound. And I started talking about players, and I feel like I should probably name them all now because they all did really well. Craig Ringy over at Eureka. Steady ball player. He's physically, he looks like a linebacker, and he is a linebacker, literally. That's why he looks like one. But, 6'2", and, put together. It does not look like a 16-year-old or however old that he is. Played a really good third base and did a very good job of not coming unglued, not leaving who he is, and took some good at-bats. And again, played really well defensively. All of our outfielders. GT Taylor impressed, the CBC standout. Mm-hmm. He's kind of the wow guy, and he took the first game. He had a double off the wall, and he certainly didn't disappoint.
I like what you said there, Kevin. I think it's the question about a ball player. You're watching a kid, and if you've seen him play in high school and whatnot and settle in, can you be – I think that's a difficult thing. Can you be yourself in every moment? And when the stage gets bigger, I liked what you said earlier about that. When the stage gets bigger, it's easy to go, oh, I got to do this. I gotta, rather than just focusing on who you are and what you do and allow your talent to be what it is. And a lot of times that's good enough and especially if you're on that team, it is good enough because you wouldn't be there otherwise, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, anyone that gets to come to that event is a talented baseball player. And I said this before we went. This was the toughest year to do this, just because the new recruiting rule and less guys committed, and so there was some very good players that we didn't get to bring that I wanted to bring. But yeah, if you were on this roster, you're super talented. There's a reason you were invited to come. You just need to go be you and let the rest take care of itself. But that's easier said than done. Um, I've been doing this for a long time. Sometimes I get comfortable in that environment. It's easy to sometimes forget what a big deal this is to the kids, and they've never seen this many colleges and scouts and whatnot around, and it is tough. And it happens every single year. Some kids just take off and just shine at this event, and then there'll be some that have a rough day, and it's important for those guys just to remember it's just one event, one day, etc. There will be another time. We just got to get back to work, and it'll be okay. But the kids do put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it can certainly it won't break your career, but it can help make it. It can get a big jump start on it.
The one thing that I find interesting, and in coaching, it's easy to focus on ability, physical ability, raw talent, mechanics, this, that, everything that we do that goes into making a play physically, hitting the ball physically, throwing the ball physically. We forget that the body follows the mind. And if the mind is not in the right place, or in a place where you understand who you are and you're comfortable with that, and getting a player at 16 years old, 17 years old to understand those things is more difficult than teaching them how to throw the ball correctly or swing in the bat correctly. Because when you're put in different settings, people's personalities are different. You have kids, all different personalities with these kids. Some, as we talked about earlier, with interviews, I find it fascinating. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy the most about it, about what we do, is talking with the kids. You learn a lot. How do they talk about themselves? How do they approach that? And that comes right here. And so everything else funnels through that. The knowledge or the ability, the application, the attitude that creates the opportunity there. Can you handle that mentally? Because you're skilled physically. We know that. And I think this is the biggest thing. And I don't know if we spend enough time on those things.
100%. And that's like the separator when you start dealing with, everyone can play baseball. Everyone can hit or throw hard or pitch or run or whatever. And it gets into the details like that you're just talking about that often are the separators. When you get into, what Titus Sissel's doing right now, he's in, pro baseball. He's with the elite. Everyone there can play. And then it's things like that separate who's going to keep working, who can handle failure, because you're going to fail. It's going to happen. Who can get up off the mat and keep competing, that type of thing. Those are definitely separators.
I'm watching the Brewers and Dodgers last night because, yes, I do like the Dodgers. And here comes Mookie Betts.
All of St. Louis should be liking the Dodgers right now in that series, right?
Yeah, but the Cardinals aren't taking care of their business to take advantage of it.
No, they aren't.
I couldn't believe that. I'm like, guys, why are you losing to the Reds? The Dodgers are killing the Brewers. Come on. But nonetheless, Mookie Betts, here he is coming off a broken hand, right? Doesn't do a rehab assignment. I know they have the new model with the video and the pitching and the simulation, and that's what he did and whatnot. The man stepped in first at bat, first game back, hits a bomb, hits the baseball all over the place. He's crushing. Last night he was like 2 for 4 or something like that, hitting the ball everywhere. That's here, Kevin. Coming back from that injury, getting back, he knows he's got the ability. That's mentality, isn't it?
100%. And he's, one of the few that are like that. I mean, that's a special talent, and obviously he has the mindset, and rightfully so. But yeah, that's.
I don't know how to explain that other than that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It just, my goodness, it's just like he didn't, it's like he was playing yet, the whole time and just keep hitting the baseball. And I think as we go through these things, I like dealing with that thought process more than anything, the mental capacity to overcome the failures, overcome the injuries, overcome, you see kids going down with the UCL, especially early in high school and whatnot. The doubt that can creep in that says, am I going to get back? That's easy for a 17-year-old, man.
It's extremely difficult. And yeah, we could do a show on that too. Coming back from injury, and even when you're 100% healthy, like letting it go again and being at the top of your game is more difficult than just being someone saying you're healthy. There is the mental part of, am I okay, and can I go 100%, and that is a tough thing to work through, especially as a young one who's never been through that.
Exactly. I just see these things. I'm gonna look at this real quick, and we'll get out of here. But, talking about pitchers, I was looking through some of these things in the 2025 class, looking at the top 10 pitchers, lefties and righties. It's amazing to me that the difference in the thought. It's really kind of kooky. But the top 10, Luke Sullivan being at number 10, and I'm sure he performed very well to future games. But you look at the top 10 in the state of Missouri, 3 Mizzou commits, 2 Tennessee commits, an Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, and Texas commit. Starting with Jordan Martin to Tyler Wood, J.D. Dorman, Richie Swain, Drake Gower, Jaden Ferguson, Adam Kilburn, Camden Lohman, Cooper Pumphrey, and then
Cooper Humphreys.
Yeah, Pumphrys.
Yes.
Okay. And Luke Sullivan is at
Cooper
number 10.
Pumphrey. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Kevin, that's wow. That's as good as it gets at the top of that.
There's going to be some scouts around next spring, I would say.
You're talking about the big league guys, right?
The major league scouts, yes. Yep, there are a couple good arms in that list you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's all power. So it's now Power 4. It's not even Power 5 anymore. I didn't hear that.
As of July 1st, yeah, Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. You're correct. I forget about that. That's unfortunate. That really upsets me. I don't like that. I'm a Pac-12 guy. Grew up in that area. Pac-12. It was Pac-12. These people are idiots, man. Come on. You can't do something better than that. That's ridiculous. And now you got USC and Oregon playing in the Big Ten. That's just baloney. You got to fly to Maryland. It's the most absurd, ridiculous nonsense I've ever seen. I hate the Big Ten, too. So there you go. It's just, I'm not happy about it. Arizona State, team I follow, now Big 12, that's bad enough. And then you got West Virginia over there. It's in the Big 12. It's stupid. You people ain't got enough. Aren't these people smarter than that?
They are. It's money. I eventually think that it's going to go to like an NFL model, where you have a West Division, a Central Division, an Eastern Conference, a Southwest. But anyways, we could get real deep on that stuff if you want.
Oh, hang around, folks.
It's all
We're going to
money.
talk about
It is all money.
Yes, it is. It is, and that's what drives it. Who's the guy you think? Who are the names here you think are going to get that opportunity? We saw two draft picks this year. Is there a couple guys here you might see that are just? I know it's early, but
it isn't early. Everyone you just listed will have an opportunity. How they develop over the winter, physically, and how they pitch. At next spring and over some of the like the Super 60 things of that nature, the MLB Draft Combine, that type of stuff will tell the story. But there is a number of those guys are going to pop. It's for sure. You can't tell which ones exactly. Jordan Martin would be at the front of the class. He's come to the All-American games in September. As athletic as you would ever want. Has had Division I basketball scholarship offers. He's the talented right-hander going to Arkansas that also is a shortstop, but as a pitcher would be his, from a draft standpoint. Tyler Wood over at Lee Summit West, that's a big arm, a real big arm, like legitimate mid-90s
wow.
type guy out of high school. So those guys would be, I would think, at the top. Then you got the Richie Swain and Drake Gower guys. Those have a real chance as well. Lean, tall, projectable right-handers that have a definite chance to also be mid-90 guys next year. We'll see. They're not that now. But I could easily see that in an off season because they're upper 80s to low 90s currently.
Yeah.
And sometimes one of them might hit a 94 or something. But I think that's a pretty safe comment there. But those guys will have a chance. JD Dorman, another super athlete. He's got a wipeout breaking ball, which kind of separates him a little bit. And also an upper 80s to low 90s arm. So he'll be a fun one to keep an eye on. And
let me
Ferguson has the big velo, and he's had it for a while. So his deal is going to be just gaining more polish. And, he's been a reliever. I think he's going to start next spring, but we'll see. I'm not his coach. I just
right.
Rumors that I've heard, and we'll see. But there is a bunch of good athletes that in good arms out of that group. So,
who do you see here, Kevin, in this group? We of course we talk about the big arms, the velocity, but who's able to truly command their pitches? Who are the guys that stand out with the command that can really just pitch?
Dorman for sure. Jordan Martin's a strike thrower. That separates him. Luke Sullivan is the command guy out of that group. He has always been that way, or at least since I've known him, which was when he came with us to the Junior Future Games, and as a tall, skinny kid. Didn't throw as hard as some of the other kids, but he always threw strikes, commanded the breaking ball, commanded the changeup, and was an out-getter. And, if you look at his trajectory, he just kept gaining a couple miles every single year. And it was always, we're just waiting on him to pop and, velocity-wise, but he just kept adding. And, I think he's been up to 91 now. I'm not calling him a draft prospect out of high school,
right?
But he can really pitch. And a lot of times, those guys are, the most successful guys, the guys that knew how to get outs or were forced to be able to pitch to be able to get outs, is those kids that throw really hard at a young age don't have to learn that, because they can strike everybody out with just a fastball, and can get away with suspect command because people are chasing and not always. But
Right.
rule of thumb, like the guys that gain the velocity late often are the guys that end up being, the best pitchers per se.
Yeah. Because, for instance, Richie Swain, when we've seen him, Richie throws. He gets, if he's in the strike zone, and he can command the strike zone. If he's got his fastball and he works that, we saw him against Hal Central, and I mean, he dominated. I think he just got tired, and I think they left him in a little too long. Personally, just what it is. But that's coaches' decisions. It's what they are. But when he is on, and he does have pretty good command of his fastball.
He has an electric arm, and sometimes when you get a good young arm like that, they're gonna have some games when they walk some guys, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to let them be out there and figure things out, and let them throw 75, 80 pitches, and just make them work their way through it and learn, and they grow from it. And I'm not specifically talking about Richie. I'm talking about general terms. Now, he would fit into that category of an electric arm that has a real chance, and he'll definitely be on the scouts' radars next spring.
Absolutely. On the left-handed side, it's interesting when I was looking at this, Kevin. This is what kind of struck me over here. In the top 10, you've got Ethan Rogers, Brody Earlbeck, which we saw at Staley. I watched him carve up Liberty North last year. Jake Collier, Wyatt Doak, Colin Muldoon, Owen Neslage, Rex Holcomb, Ty Earwood, and Braden Ray and Jack Riggin.
You should also have Mason Lee in there. He probably calls himself a first baseman or an outfielder, which he is, but he's a left-handed pitcher as well, and a good one.
Gotcha. And what's interesting to me, you had the one big
and also I'll jump in there. Sorry, Mason Shermer as well. Like, you get these guys, and they are like, Mason Shermer's a legitimate bat, but he's also a left-handed pitcher and one of our best left-handed pitchers in the state.
That's right, and he is listed as a first baseman, I think, on the what he put in.
But people always get stirred up on these rankings. If I could just interject for 1 second about, well, how is he? The kids get to put their position that they claim that they are. I do change it when they become seniors if they are turn into like a draft prospect. I will put it for what they actually are going to be considered as. But if someone is ranked really high and you think, oh, he can't play shortstop, he's not he can't hit, he's just okay, he's good, but he's not that good. Odds are he's in there for he throws 94 miles per hour on the mound, and he's one of the top. He's 6'4". That's why he is there.
And you just don't change the position.
He's a third baseman that hits fourth, and he does, but that's not why he's ranked where he's ranked. That happens all the time.
There you go. Exactly. And I was looking at this. There's one Brody Earlbeck going to Iowa. That's the only real, I guess, Power 4 now. But a lot of guys, Wichita State, Missouri State, SIU, Edwardsville, Maryville University, Southeast Missouri State, Missouri Southern, Arkansas State. It's a different vibe on this side of it.
Yes. Well, left-handers are tough to find. They're rare. I will put Ethan Rogers as a kind of under-the-radar candidate to be a guy that scouts are going to be watching next spring as well. Out of Lone Jack. He came with us to the future games a year ago, and he has a real chance. 6'2" lefty, live arm up to 92. That would be one that I'd really keep a close eye on. Earl Back can flat pitch. Like he's, command guy. He's got the Luke Sullivan type thing. He can really pitch, and now he has a good arm too.
Yeah.
So those two are definitely stand out. Mason Lee can really pitch, just taking a jump. He recently decommitted from Arkansas State due to the coaching change there. So he is now uncommitted, and will be a fun one to follow as well.
When and just to the eye like me, you look on the one side, you see all these Power 5 or Power 4 stuff. On this side, you see a lot of the mid-majors, one Big Ten, the lefty, and you're hearing some of these numbers. And I think sometimes it's difficult. People go, whoa, SIUE Edwardsville, you must not be very good or something like that, whatnot. SIUE Edwardsville, it's a Division I program, correct?
100%, and they get guys. They've had a number of guys drafted recently.
Wichita State is a storied program. They've been around it and doing it a long time, and they got some guys, and they're starting to get that program back in that direction. Missouri State, the same. Early on, that's what you saw. You saw Missouri State, Wichita State coming out of the Missouri Valley, contending. Those programs are there. They're there for a reason. You've got Southeast Missouri State that I think is playing pretty well, Ohio Valley Conference. Missouri Southern is a good D2 school. Just an FYI, we're going to have one of the assistant coaches, Nick Tuck, coming on the show talking about some recruiting, some things. So I'm looking forward to that. Appreciate him coming on. Arkansas State, you said they just had a coaching change. Arkansas State, is that D1 or D2, Kevin?
It's D1, Sun Belt Conference, one of the best baseball conferences in the country.
So, to our eye, to the person just looking at this, we think, Arkansas State, who's that? It's kind of, it can be misgiving, can it?
Oh, 100% it can be, yes.
So I just, when people look at these things and they see rankings, they see this, that, don't always just assume just because it's got a Power 5 next to it that you're not going to a program that isn't competing, that isn't playing at a high level.
All right, we just talked about Evansville earlier in the show. They were in a super regional this year.
Yeah, Ohio.
So they were one of the 16 final teams in the country, is what that means.
And I don't know that how many people actually know that, because don't know that they follow college baseball like that, correct?
Right, yeah. If you're just kind of a casual sports fan, you wouldn't know that. But if you follow college baseball, you should know that. They played in they made it to game 3 too. It's a best of 3 in the super regional, and Tennessee was the national champions, and they took Tennessee to the rubber match in the super regional.
That's hard to do, and like I said, yeah, Tennessee was a national champion. So there you go. There you can find baseball, and this is why I want young guys to know: just because you're not going to Power 5U or Power 4, Power 4U, doesn't mean you don't have the opportunities. Stop with that. There's plenty of good programs, plenty of good opportunities. Understand who you are as a baseball player, I think, is the first thing. Understand who you are. And I know I've heard Kevin talk about this enough. If you would, I love what he says. So I'm going to repeat it here. Would you go to that school if you weren't playing baseball? That's one of the best questions ever asked, Kevin.
You want to be happy at your school. It should be more than just the sport that you're playing there.
It's good stuff. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming season, the podcast. We're gonna roll out some fun stuff. We've got some great people coming on, talking, chatting baseball. We'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. For all yous that are old enough to grasp that reference. That's why the gray is there, Kevin.
Yeah.
Used to watch that show all the time as a kid. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Me too.
But anywho, thanks for tuning in, folks. Do appreciate it. Kevin, as always, thanks for coming on the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link. Appreciate the knowledge, buddy.
Always fun.
Always. So, folks, please, if you like what we're doing, as it says on the screen there, like, share, hit the dinger. It doesn't get you a run, but it sure gets you a notification for upcoming episodes such as this, and informative too. That's the way we roll around here. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, hit them with the advice.
Keep throwing strikes.
Hitters, hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.